Hi, Rodrigo. Thank you very much for joining us today. How are things in Miami?
Hello, James. It's very nice to be here with you. Miami, again, is sunny and shy.
Yeah, I'm sure Miami's always great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful weather. It gets a little bit hot and humid now during the summer, but after September, it goes back to a very beautiful temperature.
So, ORAAF produced 236,000 gold equivalent ounces or GEOs in 2023, and that's going to grow to 450,000 ounces by the end of 2025. So that's huge growth in a relatively short period of time. And the three projects that are going to take you there are Elmes, Borborema, and also Matupa. And I want to discuss these, but before we do that, I want to have a discussion on your largest producing mine, Arizanzu. It's going to produce 100,000 gold equivalent ounces annually. It's a copper gold mine in Mexico. Can you just take us through this mine and provide us with a brief overview of it and how it's operating?
Yes, Aranzazu is a mine that's been operating over centuries in Mexico, in Zacatecas State, in Concha de Oro, the municipality. ORAAF bought this mine over a decade ago, but faced a lot of challenge in terms of costs, production, recoveries, copper price went down. So when we started the turnaround project in ORAAF, when I joined the company in 2017, we reviewed the whole project. We focused on the first 5 years life of mine. So we rebuilt the feasibility study with the 5 years. We saw an opportunity to operate with a lower cash cost. And then we decided to restart. And after restarting, then reinvest the cash to expand life of mine. So just a brief numbers is we started this mine with 5 years life of mine 2018. We already expanded the capacity by 30%. We operated 6 years and now we have 8 years of life of mine. So we are now building life of mine as we are producing with a significantly lower cash cost compared to how our producing in the past.
And you touched on cash costs. Maybe expand on that a little bit more because the cash costs associated with this mine are relatively low.
Yes. When we get started to restart, we could see that one of the mistakes that was being done is pushing a lot of tons to the plant to increase the throughput. And with that, they were not grinding very well the minerals that the flotation we were losing a lot of recovery. So we reanalyzed, reassessed, and then we increased the milling time. We reduced the size of the grains, and that increased the flotation productivity. So we increased recoveries, James, from gold 55% to over 70%. It is a 50% improvement in gold recoveries. We also increased the recoveries from copper from 78 to 80% to over 90%. And then was combined with several initiatives to increase efficiency at the mine and also the plant. And this efficiency is coming from a very strong team that we hired, we trained under the best culture under which they make those decisions that we believe it is more meritocratic, transparent. And then instead of production, it's just focus on cash flows with the highest standard of ESG locally. Actually, as a restart, James, we used Aranzazu as our place where we put all our efforts how to operate efficiency in one mine. And then after that, after several years training and learning, we are now rolling out all this expertise to the other mines, either Coena, Honduras, San Andres, and also the new ones that we are building. With that, we could reduce our cash costs by half compared to how we produced in the past.
So I want to move on now and discuss your growth projects. And the first one is Elmes. The last time we spoke, you were in the process of building this, and now it's up and operating. It's an open pit mine in Brazil. Why don't you just take us through this? Is it at full production? And was there any issues in getting there?
There's always issues, but we are very proud that we have accomplished our first greenfield product, not only on time, on budget, but also setting benchmarks, because we built almost in less than 15 months. And then when we started ramping up, that we were talking last year, we could ramp up almost in 5 months. So between building the project and going to full production, it was less than 2 years, setting new benchmarks in the sector as the first project that we are building. And we're very proud to have accomplished that in a project that already generating cash flows and returns with this current gold price above 100% per year, leveraged at 50%.
And one of the reasons why you were able to get this up and running on time and on budget was because of your technical team. Maybe you can just touch on that.
Yes, it's a combination, James, of a very strong technical team that you mentioned, and I'll talk about it later on. But also, our strategy was built making decisions that would get us as fast as possible to cash flow through projects that are easier to build, easier to operate. So the concept of the Almas project, it was already easy project, open pit, CIL, in an area that has full infrastructure, was already fully licensed. So all that helped us to achieve those goals. But we combined that, having a very strong team, very transparent relationship with all of them, very clear targets, meritocratic, bonus system, everything aligned to our shareholders and to the best of our employees and the community and the environment as well.
And what about exploration upside or expansion? Can you speak to this?
Yes, Almas, if I remind investors, initially when we acquired this project, it was projected to 2 million tons per year. But then we saw an opportunity because to produce from 70,000 ounces, 60,000 to 100,000 was just a marginal grade. There was not any rating cash, and they were pushing too much cash into the implementation of the project. So we reduced the capex in the project from 2 million tons to 1.3 million tons. Then we focused on higher grades that could leverage our returns to over 70% at the gold prices 3 years ago. Now it's over 100%. But then we made the plant flexible enough to be able to achieve 2 million tons as we are moving into the cash flows and doing some exploration to prove other sources of minerals that could go to the plant. So we are ready at this moment at full production and already thinking how to increase capacity by 15%. But our objective is during the next couple of years, 3 or 4 years, is if the exploration goes successful, which we believe we will, and then go and increase to 2 million tons per year. So start small, very efficient, high returns, and then from the cash flows, you expand to 2 million tons.
So the next project I want to ask about is Borborema. This is really going to be the big driver behind your growth. It's currently under construction. It's going to be an open pit mine in Brazil. Take us through this project.
Yes, Borborema, which we acquired in 2022, we revealed the feasibility study, we issued the feasibility study by mid last year and started construction right after. It's a very important project for ORAAF because that will continue to build our way to achieve to 450,000 ounces of gold equivalent production by the year of 2025. And so a few examples that we can give to Borborema and how important is this project, not only for where it is right now as on the feasibility study, but also the upsides that we can access after we achieve production is we are coming from a return at 40% and now going up to 75% in the current gold prices. NPV that was built in the feasibility study of the gold price $1,700 at $185 million of NPV. Now we are running at $440 million for NPV with the current gold prices. But on the feasibility study, James, what is interesting about this product, we used and we have to use 812,000 ounces of reserves, but the project has already 2 million ounces of resources. And the conversion of 2 million ounces to reserves, it's not very complicated in terms of exploration. It just requires us to move one road. It's just 6 kilometers, $6-7 million of investments. If we move this road, then we will convert significant part of the resources into the reserves. So I would say that we can more than double our reserves once we move the road, and then you can do the math, right? Already at $440 million of NPV. Imagine after we can more than double our reserves. So this project can be highly accretive in our portfolio after we start the production, and also we move the road.
And I'm sorry, when Borborema is up and running at full production, how many GEOs will it be producing annually?
Well, the first 4 years on average will be close to 80 to 85,000 ounces of gold equivalent, gold production, without the assumption that we might increase capacity. As we did with Almas, that we reduced and optimized the capex initially, we did the same with Borborema. Now we are focused on 2 million tons per year as a project. but flexible enough to go over 3 million tons. As once we move the road, then we can increase capacity. So in the beginning, with only 2 million tons, we'll be around 85,000 ounces of gold production, but that can be significantly increased after we move the road and we execute on that.
And you touched on this a little bit, but this asset consists of 3 mining concessions. So there's huge upside for exploration. Maybe you can just take us through that and what your plans are in terms of exploration and also expansion.
Well, overall, we have a significant exploration potential, either near the mines that we are building or the ones that we are operating. For example, James, we have over 600,000 hectares of exploration rights that was underinvested in the past. Again, ORAAF is a company that has underinvested in the past in exploration. It didn't have a lot of cash flows to invest and understand the exploration potential. Only in the last 3 or 4 years that started generating us more robust cash flows, and then we started investing in exploration. And that, as you can see, few examples, in Aranzazu, we came from 5 years life of mine, operated 6 years, increased capacity by 30%, and now we have 8 years. Apoena, we had 3 years life of mine, we operated 7 years, and now we have 5 years. So we are building resource reserves as we can increase our production, and understanding that only recently we increased our capex, our exploration investment, to up to $25 million per year, coming from $5-6 million per year.
And under a best case scenario, when do you expect Borborema to go into production?
Well, our projections, which is, I wouldn't say best case, but realistic, is to start the ramping up of Borborema in the first quarter next year. We are already over 30% accomplished. Things are moving according to the plan, on time, on budget so far. And so continue with this rhythm. We'll be starting production in first quarter next year, and then a commercial production by mid-second semester 2025.
And Rodrigo, the last asset I want to touch on, which is going to contribute to this 450,000 ounces in the latter part of 2025, it's Matupa. It's another mine that's currently under construction in Brazil. It's also going to be an open pit. But just take us through this process. Where exactly does it stand, and when do you expect it to go into production?
Matupa, we are already finalizing the environmental license, which we expect to be granted in the next 4 to 8 weeks. And then from that, we already have the feasibility study and all the engineer to start the construction. Very interesting about Matupa. It's a smaller project compared to Borborema that we produce close to 50,000-60,000 ounces, but also expandable. As we did with Almas, we're doing it with Borborema. Or products we like to start small, de-risk, start to get to the cash flows and expand. But only, for example, that we have in Matupa today, which seems small, it's 320,000 ounces of reserves, but we have many other targets that we are doing in exploration to significantly increase. Actually, we recently acquired 2 other mineral rights very close to Matupa that can also feed the plant and increase the resource reserves. And we believe we will more than double in the next 1 year or 2 in terms of resource reserves. But only with the reserves that we already have, the return is already over 40% internal rate of return, and the NPVs are creative. So we start small, build a product, and then we'll grow from that.
So I want to move on and discuss your balance sheet and also your capital allocation plans. You have a lot going on. You do have 4 producing mines, but you also have 2 mines under construction. So maybe you can just tell us how much cash you have on hand and how you're going to allocate that cash in the coming year.
We finished the last quarter with over $210 million of cash. And fortunately, we've been able to, as we promised during the re-IPO in 2020, is to grow while we pay dividends and generate value for shareholders in many different areas. So if you look what happened in the last 2 years, James, we combined, we had our EBITDA over $260 million, $270 million of EBITDA combined in 2 years. We acquired Borborema for $50 million. We invested in Almas, that's already in production. We paid $60 million of dividends. We also could build Almas with the $75 million, $50 million in exploration, and we finished the quarter with less than 0.7 times net debt to EBITDA, understanding that only this quarter that we are right now, we are increasing the gold price. Gold price in the first quarter was 2,050. Now we have the 2,300.
Rodrigo, I want to move on now and discuss valuation. Aura has a lot going for. You have 4 producing mines in very strong mining countries. You're cash flowing. You're paying out a big dividend, but yet you're trading at a big discount, especially compared to your comps. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's a combination of a few factors. I think one, we need to continue to grow. Our NAV is based on growth and development of our greenfield projects. And I think we need to prove to the market that we can build those projects efficiently. Alma is a very good case that we built in 15 months. We ramped up in 5. Borborema is on the way. I think we need to advance more and show to the market that we are advancing on time and on budget. And that answers the execution front. There's also a lot to create value for shareholders in the exploration that we touched a little bit earlier, right? This company has underinvested in exploration, so we do not know much about the gold and copper that we have around the mine. So we just recently starting to invest, and now we're being able to increase our resource reserves every year. And the other aspect that I would touch is the multiples that they are, the multiple of the sector and the companies that we are right now, which might range in 0.3, 0.4 times NAV, companies that's producing 200, 300,000 ounces, we will increase, I think, NAV by the execution and growth, reaching the 400, 450,000 ounces of gold equivalent will give us a slight increase in our NAV. But to become important in the world and to be recognized by many of the major investors, we need to be above 500, 600, 700,000 ounces of production. So that's why we aim to continue to grow through M&A. We are constantly monitoring the market. If in one hand, we are significantly devaluated in terms of multiples, with the gold and copper price at the highest levels, which is interesting. Many other junior miners are even worse. So that gives us also a good opportunities to continue to grow through the M&As.
I guess one of the other things that comes to my mind is the importance of execution. And we talked about your technical team earlier, but you are building 2 mines. Do you have enough people? Do you have enough technical people to look after the construction of 2 mines?
Yes, we just finished building Almas, so we are using the same team that built Almas. We transferred to Borborema. They are the ones that now are building Borborema. With all the learnings, almost with everything on time on budget, but we learned a lot. There was a lot of problems that we had to fix, so we might have different problems, but not the same problems in Borborema. So we expect to be even more efficient in terms of construction compared to Almas. That team is highly efficient, highly motivated with the right incentives, but yet we are constantly growing, so we are hiring new people, hiring new technical. Now that's becoming more challenging as we grow. But on the other hand, which is interesting, Aura has although it's not very well known in the Canadian market, Aura is very well known in Brazil. It's a very strong brand. People want to work with us. We give them the right to make decisions. We give the right insights, highest ESG and safety standards, so they like to come with us. And Brazil, James, we have a Brazilian DNA, right? Brazil, it's a country that has a very strong university, very strong ecosystem for mining that Vale lead during the last decades. So the whole environment for mining in Brazil are very strong, which we've been able to find highly qualified technicals and now even export to other countries.
No, you're right. Brazil has a very strong mining jurisdiction, and it adheres to the rule of laws, and that's very important when it comes to mining. And if you ever have a site visit, let me know. I want to come down there and check out your operations. But the last time we spoke, we also had a discussion on inflation, and that was impacting mining operations all over the world. But has inflation subdued now?
Yes, we've seen the inflation coming down in the last year, not significantly increasing. I think that the worst of the inflation was in the year 20, end of 21, 22, a little bit early, like 23. We've been able to fight back the inflation, not 100% of the inflation, but a significant part. But yet you can see that the inflation impacting our cost. But fortunately, gold prices increased even higher more than our cash costs in operations.
Rodrigo, as we wrap up, maybe you can summarize what investors should be looking out for in the coming months from ORAAF.
Well, James, we already proved in the last couple of years that we can operate and we can now actually build new mines efficiently. And now what we will see in the future, and I would invite all the investors to take a very close look, because we just passed the inflection of a growing production combined with higher gold prices and lower cash costs, because all the mines that we are building right now has a lower cash cost compared to what we have in the portfolio. So take an example of the last quarter, which is just the beginning of a very strong and long curve. We increased production by 30% compared to the first quarter of last year. That 30% increase generated over 45% increase in EBITDA, and that is assuming we had the gold price of $2,050 and copper price at $3 per pound. Imagine now, every quarter we will continue to grow compared to last year, give or take 68,000, 67,000, 70,000 gold equivalent ounce of production per quarter during this year. So every time you see the last 12 months, we are replacing last year that we didn't have alums, for example, and we had some challenges in Honduras. This year we won't have challenges in Honduras, and we have alums. So we'll see every last 12 months increasing in terms of production during this year. That is coming combined with a gold and copper price higher. But doesn't stop this year, James. We discussed about the Borborema. So when Almas, the full year is already replacing the last year with Almas, which is 24, we start Borborema. Borborema starts production, not commercial production. We're ramping up by first quarter next year, and along the year it will increase production and declare commercial production. So we will continue to increase production in terms of gold, and also reducing cost, while gold price, if you continue in this direction, can significantly boost our EBITDA. So I would invite everyone to take a look at that. We also just announced a new dividend. If you summarize a little bit, we announced 25 cents per share, which gives 8% of dividend yield in the last 12 months to our shareholder. 21 was 13.5, 22 and 23 was 6% each of the years. And now we are already at 8%, and now increasing production and margin. So we should take a careful look to our. We are very motivated to deliver the product on budget, while we keep our current operations very efficiently, not including eventual M&As.
Well, Rodrigo, that was a great overview, and I want to thank you very much for spending time with us today. It sounds like you and your team are going to be very busy in the coming months, so I wish you good luck on your various operations, and I look forward to speaking to you again for an update at some point in the future.
Thank you, James. It was a pleasure, and welcome to visit our operations while we are in Brazil.
I would love to. Once again, thank you.